Reddit, what assumptions did you make as a child that were proven hilariously wrong as an adult? 27 Yo, just a few months ago, was corrected that it is go-kart not goat kart. What is my life? I was older than that when my mom corrected me on old timers disease. I thought computer players for video games were people in Japan being paid to play against me and other kids. Like when I played Smash, there were 3 kids in Japan making a small wage to play against me. I really wish this were the actual case. Now you can do that in real life. In primary school I used to think all my teachers lived in the same house marking work together around the dinner table. That's cute lol. That when you become an adult you have to change your name. My name always sounded like a kid's name to me and my dad's like a dad name, so I assumed he grew up with a kid's name then changed it. I thought so too, until I watched a TV show for kids, and the host had the same name as me. I was amazed. I thought a drag queen was the girl that waved the flag at drag races. I assumed that she was the queen of the drag race. I saw on the TV RuPaul's Drag Race. Not knowing who RuPaul is, I tuned in. I watched waiting too long for the cars. My dad told me that I had to eventually pay him back for the food I ate as a child. My grandmother was also my daycare provider, and when I saw my dad pay her each week, I assumed he was paying off his debt. I found out it was all bulls when I asked my older brother about it and he laughed his ass off. I was terrified of eating fruit because I thought the seeds would grow inside me. This all started after a particularly unclear Rugrats episode. That's my favorite episode. It always reminded me of the magic school bus, but also scarred me. Didn't eat watermelon for a while. That all kissing scenes on TV are camera trick. Why would people kiss each other if they're not married or related? My mom told me that all of the actors wore plastic lips. My parents told me that eating carrots was good for your eyes, so I always ate them in even numbers, so I didn't get lopsided vision from one eye getting more eye improving veggies than the other. Fun fact, the carrots improve eyesight myth was started in World War II by the British. They had developed a new radar technology for fighter pilots to take out German bombers at night. To explain for this, the British began printing propaganda on how carrots can improve the vision. This belief was then brought back to America by American forces as well as civilian immigrants after the war. I thought the background laughter in TV shows were the laughs of all the other people watching the show. I would sit close to my TV and laugh loud so that other people could hear me. That a male orgasm produced as much liquid volume as emptying one's bladder. Frick, can you imagine? I assumed that my parents could read my thoughts. Anytime I got in trouble for something, I worried that thinking about it would get me in more trouble, etc. To young me, my being really bad at concealing my own bad decisions apparently led to a belief in psychic parental powers. Now that I'm a parent, I wish I could read his thoughts so I'd have some clue about what in the world he's thinking at times. I also thought the handicapped symbol was a Chinese character. It is. It means you can't park here. My parents told me that oral sex is when you talk about sex. Totally made sense at the time until I told all my friends I had oral sex with my parents. If you bit into people of different races, colors, they'd be different flavors. I've never bitten a person, but I'm fairly sure this isn't true. That a prostitute was someone who chopped off their body parts for money. Thanks Titanic. I have no words. I remember being in first grade and thinking, I can't wait till I'm an adult and out of school so I won't have anything to do and can play all day. I'm still in college, but I have a feeling I was completely wrong. Work 10-12 hours a day, dong around on Reddit for a while, maybe have time for a round of CS, go before you get to bed later than you originally intended. Rinse, repeat. Sounds about right. I thought that Al Gore was the Antichrist or something akin to that because our parents said he was a bad man. So my siblings and I would pretend he lived in the attic of the house next door and was going to murder its occupants. One Christmas he left a note for us under our tree that looked like my sister's handwriting. It was a threat. Al Gore as boogeyman. Nice. My mom was always straightforward with no BS when I asked a question when I was a kid. When I asked her how babies were made, she explained in no uncertain terms, added no fluff, and made sure I understood what she had told me after letting me go on my way. She was still straightforward a few months later when I asked how people got AIDS. I heard it on TV. She told me from having sex. I put everything together. I was a baby, which meant my mom had sex, which meant my mom has AIDS and will die. It was all cleared up when my teacher called my mom into a meeting because I was crying at school and telling everyone that our parents had AIDS and were going to die. Haha, I guess parents just can't win. All vaginas are innocent till the woman is turned on. Once she is turned on, the labia extends, which gives the beef curtain look. Essentially, it's a female form of an erection. Well, that's sort of true, but just not very obvious looking at it. The labia do become engorged like penises, to a lesser degree. It just has nothing to do with innes or outies. When I was little, I thought people got pregnant from kissing with tongues. I would watch Seventh Heaven and think that the actors would get pregnant later. Like that American Dad episode where Roger gets Steve pregnant. I honestly believed that in action movies, anyone who was blown up, shot, killed in any way actually had died because it was so realistic. Like, if the take wasn't good enough, oh well, gotta grab another person to kill just for the sake of the movie, lol. Oh, and the famous actors who recurringly died in movies were immortal exceptions who could die and come back to life just to make more movies. I was 7 when I saw Titanic. I almost cried because the camera team didn't help all those drowning people. I assumed that when a woman was pregnant, the lump you could see from the outside was just stored under her shirt, like a pillow or something. I asked my mom how pregnant women change clothes without the baby falling out. I was like 6 or 7 years old when I thought this. I cannot even begin to wrap my mind around how fully retarded this idea was. At 7 years old, I shouldn't have been such a moron. That I would constantly be in fear. See, I have a mild fear of heights. As a kid, when I was put on the counter, I would get scared. Now when I was put on the counter, my head was level with the adults in the room. So if I was afraid of being up that high and I would eventually be that high all the time, I would be always scared. Not hilarious, but when I was a kid I thought every death was announced in the evening news. Anyone's death sounded too awful and important to be ignored. It's when I lost my dad and I didn't hear anything about it on the news that I realized it wasn't the case. Suddenly the world felt lonely and harsh. I thought that since my mother had 2 babies and both were boys, that men could also have babies, but they could only have girls, and women could only have boys. This was when I was like 6. It took some ridiculing from my friend until I figured it out. I thought the bladder was located in the scrotum. That was an educational experience. I also once complained to my mother that the pain in my stomach was the result of menstrual cramps. I'm a guy who had access to medical textbooks at a young age. I once had a partner on the wrestling team that would grab his crotch and scream "Oh, my uterus" whenever he got hit in the balls. I thought it was a joke at first, but later found out the kid was convinced he had a uterus. This girl in one of my classes firmly believed that apples have caffeine in them. We're college juniors. Everyone, including women, had penises. Oh, and babies come out of the butthole. My little brother got really upset when he learned that women don't have penises. He patted my mom's knee and said, "Don't worry, mommy, when you get older you'll grow a penis too." When I was a child, I went to a summer camp on the coast. It was an overnight thing. 4 weeks of sailing, motorboating, kayaking, archery, riflery, arts and crafts, all that jazz. I went to that camp until about 14 years old. It was during my final year that I had this interaction. There was a girl in my cabin named Bet. Real name, unusual name. She was from an affluent family in New York City. I was from a large city in the South. One day we were at the arts and crafts hut and I was feeling a little homesick. So I decided to draw a picture of my house. When I was done, I showed it to her. She said to me, "Oh, so you are from the country?" I reply, "No, I'm from a city. I live just a few minutes from the state capitol building." She was confused. "No, if you live in a city, you don't have a house or a yard. You live in a building. You live in the country." I had to spend the next 15 minutes telling her about the rest of the nation. Since she grew up in the biggest city, she didn't understand that all cities didn't work the same way. She assumed that all people that lived in cities lived in apartments, and that all people that lived in rural areas lived in houses. That was just her reality. The world was in black and white before 1950. When I was a child I watched the movie Hot Shots. The longest time I thought sex involved making eggs on each other. I had a similar thing happen to me with Naked Gun and how condoms work. I believed that adults knew everything and waited for the day I would become an adult and know everything. I remember the day the thought of holy crap, dad doesn't know everything hitting me like a truck around age 12. That was such a strange feeling. In first grade there was a boy who had vitiligo, skin pigment disorder which leaves you with blotches of albino skin. Well, this particular boy was African American. First grade me though, that's what your skin looks like when you have interracial parents. When I was about 4 years old I remember going on buses with my mother. I never understood how it always knew where we wanted to go, so since we never told them so I was under the assumption that they read our minds from the quarters we gave them. That there are wildcats in the Amazon jungle that are specifically known for eating frogs, and that they're called etceteras. If you're wondering, no, I don't know. When I was in 4th grade I bought my first album, Smash Mouth's Astrolunge. I know, I had great taste, right? My family always took me to church and had me go to Sunday school and learn about the Bible, and I was very sheltered. So when I heard the song Stoned I thought that they were singing about literally being stoned to death. Like being murdered via rocks thrown at you until you die. I was horrified. Why was the lead singer so chill about being stoned to death? I thought girls peed from their butts and that's why they had to sit down till I was like 10. That cats were just the female versions of dogs. I don't know why, but I thought this for a long time. I'm amazed at how many of us thought that. I learned that almost no one wipes their bum standing up. Do I still wipe my bum standing up? Yup. If memory serves, it's close to a 50/50 split. I thought that audiobooks were like the radio, they paid someone to sit in a studio somewhere all day long, and when you inserted the tape it sent a certain code to let the guy know to start talking. He'd talk louder or softer depending on what volume you input, and when you hit rewind he'd make funny sounds with his mouth while looking backwards through the book. I also thought that the book the narrator read was specially printed on a long scroll because otherwise you'd hear him turning the pages. I thought nurses eventually graduated to become doctors, and I wondered what was taking my mom so long. If I keep staring at someone, they will know, even if they were not looking in my direction. I refuse to believe this isn't true. I didn't realize until last year that in the song I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus, the mom was just kissing the dad dressed as Santa. I thought the mom was just a W. When I was like 5 max, I saw a survey card, like the ones you used to get in magazines to get a special offer or whatever, in my mom's card and started filling it out. I just liked filling out forms for whatever reason. I get to where it says sex, M or F and go hum, medium or full. I haven't had sex yet, so medium. My mom gets back to the car and starts laughing and asks why I chose M. Don't I know that I'm a girl? So I had to ask what it really meant and refused to tell mom what I thought it meant. You have been visited by the doggo account and comment account balance to get a balanced and positive personal economy. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.